The A True Hollywood Story.
Nellie Bly was a groundbreaking female journalist. She was one of the first female investigative reporters and achieved worldwide fame in her lifetime. She got her start at only 23 years old in 1887 with Joseph Pulitzer, owner of the New York World, by volunteering to go undercover in a madhouse.
Tell me about the madhouse assignment.
Well, young Nellie there went undercover at Blackwell's Asylum. It's a nasty place, horrible. The victim of a lawsuit afterward, and well, she convinced people she was crazy now, didn't she? Well, after a week I had to bail her out. She wrote about the deplorable conditions in this asylum for the expose in my newspaper, the New York World. Sold billions of papers, it did.
Indeed it did. 10 Days in a Madhouse quickly turned into a bestseller, catapulting Bly to fame.
What would you consider her biggest strength as a journalist was?
Well, young Nellie wasn't afraid of anything, now was she?
Could she be hard to work with?
Well, young Nellie was quite the wild thing, wasn't she? No ordinary woman would volunteer to go undercover at the asylum, not with their fragile constitution. So, yes, at times Nellie was hard to work with. You know, she never wanted to take no for an answer.
For her next assignment, Bly sailed around the world in 72 days for a series of articles in the New York World, breaking a world record and making her the first woman to do so unaccompanied. A rival publication sent Elizabeth Bisland, another female reporter, to race Bly around the world.
What was it like to race her?
Well, we did go around the world in separate directions. I had never personally met Nellie. I had only read her articles.
Do you respect her?
Well, she was always a little too much of a journalist for me. Well, she was always a little too swashbuckling and masculine for me. However, I did respect that she had the gumption, shall we say, to go into journalism, which at the time was mostly men.
Later in life, Bly retired from reporting and married industrialist Robert Seaman, the owner of a manufacturing company, who was 40 years her senior.
Why did you marry Nellie?
Well, Nellie showed a lot of spunk for a young lady. She had a certain way about her that was much different than many of the other women I have come across in my day. And let me tell you, I've come across a lot of women in my day. Nellie had a certain thing about her. I quite liked her gumption. She is truly my partner.
After Seaman's death, Bly continued to run his company, even inventing products like the 55-gallon oil drum.
And I worked a lot with the manufacturing and steel. Damn you, Carnegie, you Scottish bastard. Anyway, Nellie helps me out a lot now that I'm old and frail. She actually recently came up with this fancy oil barrel thing that she ended up patenting. Helps a lot out with production, makes us a lot more efficient than we used to be.
After leaving her late husband's manufacturing company, she continued to report, covering events like the suffrage movement and World War I. Though her contributions to journalism were numerous, Bly's only monument is at her birth site in Pennsylvania, and she now is largely unknown.
What do you think Nellie's legacy will be?
Well, I know that to me, Nellie's always going to be a lady that did what she wanted. Stood up for people that didn't have any voice. She was truly a pioneer of sorts. She did things most women wouldn't even have dreamed of doing, and was more brave than any man I know.
On May 5, 2015, Bly was honored with a Google Doodle on her 151st birthday.
It's nice, isn't it?
I'm sorry, we can't have you smoking the cigar during the interview.
I'm sorry, it's a Cuban. I'm not gonna stop now.
Would she be hard to work with?
Well, that young Nellie was quite a filly. did you marry Nellie?
Why did I marry Nellie? Because she's a hot piece of ass. Oh, shit.
Do you understand that the world does not revolve around you and your do whatever it takes, ruin as many people's lives, so long as you can make a name for yourself as an investigatory journalist, no matter how many friends you lose or people you leave dead and bloodied along the way, just so long as you can make a name for yourself as an investigatory journalist, no matter how many friends you lose or people you leave dead and bloodied and dying along the way?